Liverpool and Chelsea both got off to contrasting starts, I would say, with two new managers. We had Arne Slot taking his new look, not new look, but new Liverpool with new tactics at tricky Ipswich Town. And we got the 2-0 win after a bit of problems in the first half. Whereas Chelsea under Enzo Maresca got off to a tough start with a 2-0 loss to Manchester City. But then it was expected, I guess, because Manchester City were defending champions and Pep Guardiola is there, and it's never going to be easy. So today we're just going to talk about what the two clubs did, how they look like under the new management, and maybe the positives, the negatives, and what's coming up on this weekend's fixture. So Rohit, maybe you can start off with how Chelsea did.
Yeah, so I mean, Chelsea has always been interesting, right? This entire transfer market has been such a circus for us, and with all the media news coming out of, the number of players Chelsea have had. So we were all looking forward to the first game against Man City. For me, it was more with trepidation. I was scared, because we played Man City in the preseason and we got like clobbered 4-1. So I was expecting a similar kind of result. But yeah, hopes were always high, right? We were still hoping to kind of claw some sort of a result, definitely not a win. But we were also in Stamford Bridge, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Man City beat us pretty handily 2-0. But there were some positives to take from the game, in my opinion, right? Chelsea played decently well in possession, right? We created quite a few chances. There were obviously the chances that were missed by our strikers, which is like a normal thing every time. But the concerning thing was our fragility, right? I think this has been an ongoing discussion through last season as well as in preseason. We're very fragile in the center of the midfield as well as in the center of defense. In midfield, we have very good technicians in Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, and Romeo Lavia, right? Really good technical midfielders, but none of them are like physically imposing, right? If like a Haaland or a strong midfielder essentially runs through them, there's nobody to stop. And that's exactly what happened in the second goal with Kovacic. But before we go to the second goal, let's talk about the first goal. I'm running away with my thoughts. Haaland essentially, got one chance. He bodied, two people, I think Colwyn as well as Kukurea, and he slotted it in, right? He didn't need a second invitation. And I know, Vadim, you had something to say about the Kukurea Haaland episode that were there.
Yeah, so Cucurella spent the entire summer after winning the Euros singing that Paella song, and he's not scared of Haaland. He's come up and skate. But uh, again, if it's Cucurella versus Haaland, there's only going to be one winner in a physical battle, right?
True.
If it's
Yeah.
headers, if it's like a one-on-one physical joust, it's obviously going to be Haaland. So I think the onus should have been actually on the central defender to maybe cover Haaland. And truth be told, it was some really good footwork to free himself up into the box and then,
Yeah.
slot it in quite well. So I really don't think you can blame everybody, like the entire Chelsea defense, but maybe they could have been just a little tighter. It's Haaland after all.
True, true, true. You made a good point, right? Which kind of adds to what I was saying about Chelsea lacking physicality. But we'll see. I mean, that's an ongoing issue, right? And the Premier League is a physical league. You have strong physical strikers almost in every team. So if we keep conceding like these goals, I think Maresca is probably going to have a tough time turning the ship around. But apart from the game where there were a few positives and of course the expected negatives, there's always the cloud of Chelsea and the transfers and the huge squad that we have always on top of us. So right before the game, quite surprisingly to most of us, Raheem Sterling was left out of the squad. He was not even on the bench, right? Which is very surprising to us because he did make some appearances during the preseason. He didn't really start that many games, but we were thinking he's going to be at least a squad player because he's a senior player in the team. But Maresca essentially has put him on the transfer list, and he's given Pedro Neto Sterling's 7 jersey, right, which is like a slap across the face essentially. And of course, Sterling also came out with a statement in the media saying he wants clarification. I think the clarification was pretty swift, right? He got basically transfer listed. And what one thing I have to say about Maresca is he doesn't seem to mess around, right? Because he's transfer listed so many players who don't fit his system. Of course, Sterling is one, and then we have a whole bunch of other players who are
So
on the
just
transfer
to
list. Go ahead.
touch into that, yeah. So Maresca was recently asked about I think, the 44 players that you have. And
Hmm.
he clearly said that I'm working with a group of 21 players. The rest of the group, I don't really care about. More or less is that's what he said. Now, there's been a lot of backlash regarding this statement from Maresca. But it seems like you're right that he doesn't pull any punches. He says it
Yeah.
as he sees it. And truth be told, any manager will only be working with maybe 24, 25 players at the most. That's how big a squad is.
Yeah.
And they'll, pull players in from uh, the youth system or the reserves. So I don't really see that much of a problem there. Yeah, maybe he could have been a little bit more, I don't know, political with his statement, like politically correct. But he's just basically thrown around 20 players under the bus and said they're not part of my team. I don't want anything
Yeah.
to do with them, and we'll see on this. So Sterling is apparently training at home. He's not even allowed to come to the training ground, which is, yeah. I mean, I think it is a slap across his face, given that he is a
Yeah.
soccer player. But hey, this is
And
football,
he's also, I think he's also one of our highest paid players. He's
bro.
on
Every player is highest
325K
paid
a
for
week.
you guys. Like, what are you
No,
saying?
no, no. That's an interesting point, right? So Chelsea have actually reduced their wage budget considerably, right? The only like high paid players right now above the 250K mark, I think, is only Reece James and Sterling. And the
Oh,
next one is I think around 200K is Chilwell, who's also transfer listed, right? So I think that's been the biggest kind of strategy in terms of like quantitative metrics for payment and weekly wages. They've been trying to drive the wages down and add performance based bonuses. So, I mean, maybe it'll work. He's our highest paid player. He's on the way out, and so is Chilwell. So we'll see. And then talking about way out, of course, there are people coming in as well. Finally, the protracted saga of Conor Gallagher to Atletico got over. And to facilitate that, Chelsea had to buy someone because remember, we talked about the Samu
yeah,
Omaradion, the
yeah.
striker deal breaking down. So Chelsea have gotten back Joao Felix. I don't really think we need him. Another creative 10, slash, inside winger. We already have so many players in that position, but I guess he's part of our team now, and he's a pretty technical player. There are some doubts about his intensity, his tracking back, which might come back to bite us. But here we are with another player.
So I
What do you
think
think
I know
about?
why. Yeah, I think I know why Chelsea signed Joao Felix. I think they actually needed a Portuguese player to partner Pedro Neto. I think he needed some company or something, and that's why
That's
they got him.
possible.
Yeah. So
That's
again,
possible.
there have been a lot of people who've been slamming Felix's agent. I think it's Jorge Mendes, right? Or is it
Hmm.
the other one? It's Mendes, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, one of the super agents. Yeah.
One of the super agents. So like they're saying that he's basically pulled a fast one and all that. So again, we'd spoken about Walt Felix previously also. Him going to Atletico Madrid was the biggest, I don't know, shock move
Yeah.
that I've seen in a long time, and he hasn't actually developed into the final product we thought he was gonna be. Maybe
Hmm.
Maresca can get something out of him, but I also wanted to speak about Nkunku in the first game of the season. At least to what I saw, he was drifting a lot to the left and playing
Yeah.
down from the left. And we'd spoken about him being more of a striker or somebody who's a center forward,
Yeah.
a central
Inside
attacking.
forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know how that will work out for him. He did score in your Europa, what was it, Conference League qualifier, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, against
Yep.
Survey. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts about Nkunku and his future and his positioning?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that Maresca needs to figure out, right? And like you rightly said, we spoke about it in a previous podcast. Nkunku is not a touchline winger, right? He can't do that. He has to be closer to the penalty box. So I don't know what kind of a team he's going to put out, what kind of strategies he's going to put out. That's a complicated issue to solve because again, he doesn't have the wing backs or the full backs bomb forward. So who's going to provide the width, right? If Nkunku can't play that far out wide, somebody needs to provide the width. I don't know. And then, of course, we have Mudrik on that side, who's so hot and so cold. He blows so hot and so cold all the time. You can't trust him. Maybe they'll try Joao Felix there, but I don't think Joao Felix is also a touchline. So I don't know. We're just complicating the entire situation. Uh, Another thing coming back to Maresca being straightforward, after the Conference League game, right, he actually made some very, straightforward and blunt comments about a few players of ours, right, which was actually refreshing to see because the fan base has been able to see it from afar, but no manager has come out and, not thrown the player under the bus, but been very transparent about it. So Mudrik was one. he said Mudryk is good, but he really needs to pick up on his decision making, right? He can't be throwing away, chances. He can't be wasting possession. And he said the same thing about Madueke, who didn't start our Conference League game, but he came on and he actually scored. And of course, there have been rumors of Madueke being sold to Newcastle and things like that. But he's one of the players I like. But Maresca said that Madueke needs to perform in every single training session, which basically goes to show that he might not be putting in 100% of the effort. So maybe, being transparent about all of these things out in public is going to kind of shake these young players into being more serious and being more professional. We'll see. We'll only see. It can also have the opposite effect of, basically making them angry and, them wanting to leave, but only time will tell.
Yeah, so that's something similar to what Arne Slot has done at Liverpool also. Now we just switch gears and discuss how Liverpool looked against Ipswich. Now, uh, it felt like this was going to be a banana skin for us because going to Ipswich, who's come back to the Premier League, I think we got back-to-back promotions. I think the Ipswich manager was also on the radar for Chelsea when you guys were looking
Yes, McKenna,
for
Kieran
yeah
McKenna,
McKenna,
good
yeah.
manager.
Good manager. And in the first half, Ipswich were the better team. I think they had the better chances. They really got in our faces. But there was something that I really liked from Arne Slot that maybe bodes well for us. Is that at halftime he made a change. He took Kwanzaa off and he put I think Konate in. And
Mm.
Kwanzaa was not injured. And he also worked on the formation. I think we played more offensively. We saw Trent moving into the midfield from time to time and the wingers touching the two lines. And Arne Slot was asked about this move. Now, more often than not, you'd hear a manager say, oh, he was injured or he pulled something at halftime. No, Arne Slot was just blunt. He said that Ponce was not winning enough headers. He was not winning enough duels. And if you can't win enough duels, you can't actually control the game. That's why he took him off and I put Konate on. And he was also asked about the Liverpool performance, which was the 2-0 win. And he said, which half are you talking about? Because if you're talking about the first half, that was completely shit. The second half was much better. We had known that, Slot is someone who is very open and he doesn't hide stuff. He just says it as he sees it. It was refreshing to see that. And, more often than not over the past few years, we've seen that, maybe I'm not blaming Jurgen Klopp or, saying that he wasn't a good manager. I'm just saying that, Jurgen Klopp would take time to make the changes. 67th minute, 70th minute. But Slot saw it's not working. He changed it at halftime, and you saw how well we worked in the second half. Now, the other part is that I think Slot is also a little like Maresca when it comes to the transfers. So when he came in, right, I think everybody was hunky dory. We're happy. Oh, look, he's going to train all these youngsters. That's why he brought him in. But Liverpool have sold most of the youngsters who played in that Carabao Cup final for us last year.
Yeah.
So, the likes of Bobby Clark, they've gone. A couple of others have also left and it's a little ruthless. So Richard Hughes is actually doing a job of basically getting rid of players that might not fit Slot's system. And I heard somewhere Slot say that if he sees that a player does not have a good first touch and he can't play out of pressure, then
Oh, wow.
he
Yeah.
won't fit the system, which
Oh
is
my God.
funny
That's
because
perfect, actually.
yeah, which is good in a way, but then also a little concerning for somebody like a Darwin Nunes,
Yeah.
because uh, what are you going to do with him? He didn't. So the funny thing is, Darwin Nunes did not even come on in that first win of the season. Like he
Yeah.
was on the bench, but he didn't even come on. We had Luis Diaz, we had Cody Gakpo coming on, and Jota was leading the line. So there are quite a few interesting things happening at Liverpool. And star of the show, for me, for that match, especially in the second half, was Ryan Gravenberg. We've had a lot of discussions about us not getting a number six. It looks unlikely that we'll be getting a number six, but Gravenberg actually did a pretty good job, at least in the
Yeah.
second half.
Yeah. 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 I think you again brought forward quite a few interesting points. Let me start off with Arne Slot and him being very particular about the first touch. Right, I like that. Right, Maresca is also kind of like that in a way. He knows the kind of player he wants, and the other people, he sidelines and he asks to be transfer listed. And the first touch thing is, I think, very very important. Right, and Darwin Nunez's first touch is a problem. Then, if he was ruthless in front of goal, maybe you guys could have forgiven that, but he's not, right. His first touch is not good, and he misses a lot of opportunities. Maybe he's gonna get transfer listed. Maybe he's gonna get better. You never know. Like Ryan Gravenberch, right? He might understand his role. He might play better. but it bodes well that the coach knows what he wants from his players, and maybe he can coax it out of them, or get somebody better. The other thing is, of course, Ryan Gravenberch was really good, but how good is Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? For
Uh,
the first goal, he played that critical pass, the hockey assist, as you call it, right?
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
pass before the assist. And then I also saw him putting some delicious crosses, right? He's such an amazing player going forward. I think you guys obviously utilize him well. England should do better. And then the final thing I want to talk about is, of course, Mo Salah, right? I
Uh,
mean, the legend that he is. Can you talk a little bit about Mo Salah and the way he keeps performing, keeps getting better, scored, assisted? What else do you want from him?
he was supposed to be a one-season wonder for us once he signed. So I still
He's
remember
an
his
every season wonder
he's in
now.
every season. I still remember the first goal he scored for us. It was a very scrappy, scruffy goal at Watford with I think Firmino taking the shot, the ball looping up, and he just ran in and kicked the ball in. And there were doubts about his finishing. But every season he defies logic. You expect him to, his pace to go down, his touch to be poor, his finishing to go away, but he just proved that, he's still just as good as he was. Sure, there is a bit of a degradation in his skills. That's obvious. But I think he looks in the best shape he has been for almost 2 or 3 years. I think he had a proper break in the summer. I don't think he played in the Olympics, which was a good thing. He was injured at the tail end of last season, and he was recovering from that. And I think he could be uh, on the list of winning the Golden Boot again. I think he's obviously a very important player for us, but Salah is Salah. And speaking of Trent and also Virgil van Dijk, all three of them are on the final year of their contracts. So
Mhm.
Arne Slot
Ah,
might not have to do a lot of coaching, but he sure needs Richard Hughes' help in
mhm.
getting, I don't know, at least Trent obviously has to be there. But if Salah plays at the same way that he's playing right now, would you not want to give him a 2-year deal, maybe a 1-year deal and see what goes on? It's the same goes
I
for
think
Van
he'd
Dijk.
want at least a 2-year deal, right? I don't think he'll
Yeah.
he'll take a 1-year deal. Yeah, yeah,
And then will Liverpool break their wage structure again to keep
yeah.
somebody like a Salah? So
Interesting,
it's
interesting.
it's very interesting for Richard Hughes. So he's done a lot of good by getting rid of some flack. Like we're getting 25 million for Sepp Vandenberg, which is
Uh-huh.
insane given he's not played Premier League football at all. But he was a
Uh-huh.
regular in the Bundesliga.
Mhm.
And we also got a pretty decent sum for Fabio Carvalho.
Mhm.
He's also gone to Brentford, and we'll talk about that because the next team that we play
Yeah, let's
on
talk about
Sunday
it.
is Brentford. And it'll
Mhm.
be very, very interesting to see if Carvalho and Vandenberg actually start against us
Uh-huh.
because they'll have all the motivation to score a goal against us. Uh,
Is there
Brentford,
any like bad blood there or no?
so there is, I would say there's bad blood for both players. So Carvalho was used by Slot during preseason. He scored against Manchester United. But the thing was that he left on very bad terms when he went on loan, I think, last season. I think there was some huge fallout with Jurgen Klopp, and there were a lot of things said on veiled stuff, not directly this thing. And then it came as a surprise that Carvalho was sold after doing well in preseason. Vandenberg is a more open and shut case. Like he's been asking us that I want to leave Liverpool, I want to leave, I want to play regular football. He wanted that last season also, and we didn't let him go. We gave him a loan deal, which he wasn't, I think, too pleased about. And then this season we were haggling, like we were asking for 20 million, 20 million, 20 million when people were offering 10 million. But somehow Brentford and I think another Bundesliga club both wanted to pay 25 million for him, which is like that's gold for
Mm.
us. So yeah, there could be some battles, but yeah, it is to be seen what happens. Brentford did actually pretty well in the first game of the season. I think they drew or
Yeah,
they won against Palace. Yeah, they won against
you
Palace,
did. Yeah,
even without an Ivan Tony, who seems to be set
yeah.
for the
On the way
Arab
out, yeah.
countries. Yeah, yeah. So Brentford could be a problem for us, especially if they do the set piece thing, because I still think we
Mhm.
are a little susceptible to set pieces. I think this will be another test for Arne Slot because Ipswich was one story, but Brentford, who are more used to the Premier League, they have a very good manager who sets up pretty well. They use set pieces very well. So maybe they can find Trent struggling on the corners or Robertson or Simicast. So it'll be interesting to see how Slot deals with this kind of a threat. What about Chelsea? I think they play. Oh, they play Wolves.
Wolves.
Wow.
Yeah. Chelsea are playing Wolves, right? I think it's gonna be an important game, more to kind of suss out Maresca's tactic systems, how flexible he is, what he does with all of these different attacking options, and what kind of football we play. I think it's going to be a close match, of course. No, there are no easy games in the Premier League. Wolves is a good team, although we did poach one of their best players, Neto,
Hmm.
from them, right? But I think it'll be a close game. From my perspective, right, I want to see solid defense and a midfield that can actually protect the defense, right? We did see that Maresca obviously can play possession football, but I want to see them shut out some teams. And of course, scoring goals will take time. Chelsea
Hmm.
always takes time to score some goals. Hopefully, people will start clicking. But I think we have to be patient, right? We could draw or even lose this game. And one of the things that cannot happen is you can't turn on the manager and the team, which kind of happened a little bit in the previous game. The fans started booing. I understand the fans' sentiment as well because it's not the fact that they're booing Maresca or the team. They're booing the owners and the management, right? They've had close to 3 4 years now, and we've kind of gone from like depths of despair to depths of further depths of despair. So it's kind, yeah, exactly, right. And like your average fan in the moment obviously can't think that long term strategically, right? We've had a horrible time over the last 3 4 years, and a slightest negative result causes them to boo. But I think we have to be patient. If we are backing Maresca and getting rid of all of these players controversially, that he doesn't want. We have to back him no matter what. I don't have very high hopes. We'll see. Even a draw or a defeat is possible for Chelsea, but I want to see some progress, right? I want to see progress, especially on the defensive side of things. The leaky defense is going to get you nowhere. So let's see what happens in the game.
Yeah, so I think this is something that we've discussed that Chelsea is a project. You don't
Mm.
expect results from the bat. Like you need to give Maresca time. So again, we're gonna
Dude,
have this
this
discussion.
project, yeah, this
Yeah.
project is more painful than my like grad school undergrad projects. That's pretty painful.
Oh man. So I don't know. We will have to see. So so the thing is
Definitely.
that there was like a proper playing style, right, that Maresca had put in. I didn't see the
Yes.
two games, but there is something that's going on because what I
Yep.
saw from Slot is that yes, Liverpool are playing a little different to what we were doing under Klopp. I believe that's what's going on at Chelsea, but again, both teams will
Yes.
need time. More
Yep.
so for Chelsea because they've got so many players, and Maresca has to understand, which players fit his system more often than not, and who's going to
Mhm.
perform well. For Liverpool, it's a little. I don't know what's going to happen. We've got like what 10 days. No, we've got 7 days left till the end of the transfer market, and we're still waiting for a first senior team signing.
Yep.
Uh, I don't know what's gonna happen, man. So
I
it'll
think I
be
think it's okay. Either ways, like you said, Ryan Gravenberch is doing well in the number 6 position, right?
yeah.
So
So
that was your
my
biggest concern.
no. So my other concern is we are just, I think, a couple of injuries away from being in another crisis. Because
Mm.
there's been talk about Joe Gomez wanting to leave. Now Virgil
Mm.
van Dijk isn't the same player that he was before that ACL injury, and he could be prone to an injury. Konate is made of glass, unfortunately, and then you've got Gomez and Kwanzaa. That's it. I don't want to be in a situation where, heaven forbid, a player picks up a long-term injury and then we don't have a center back. And the other
Mm.
thing is that because of this new Champions League format, there are so many games we don't have enough cover. Like if Gravenberch does get injured, we've got Endo, and he cannot play as a number six.
Mm. Got
So
it.
we need a couple of signings. I'm skeptical about what's going to happen. I sure as hell hope that we get someone, which is going to be terrible if we don't get somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I think with that we can end, right? Exciting week coming up. Of course, the weekend full of matches, and then the transfer window also coming to a close. I think there are going to be some pretty big deals happening.
I
Hopefully,
hope
Liverpool
so.
does
I
one of
hope
them.
so. Otherwise, what am I
Yeah.
going to talk about next week? There's nothing. It's always the
Yeah.
same thing. I hope we sign someone.
True. True. Okay, with that, I think we can end the podcast here. As usual, thank you everybody for listening to us, liking our podcast, subscribing to it, and then, of course, commenting on it. We're reading your comments. And of course, if you're playing the Fantasy Premier League, please join our league. Adeem will put the link to the league in this video as well. I saw, we have about 10 or 12 people playing the league with us, so it's going to be fun. And then, looking forward to seeing everybody next week. Thank you and goodbye.
So bye bye. Take care.